Welcome, everybody. This is Mazarine Trays of Wildwood Fundraising and Wild Nonprofit Leadership. So, as you know, I'm kind of obsessed about nonprofit jobs and specifically fundraising jobs. And so for the last 4 years, I've put on a fundraising career conference as well as a nonprofit leadership summit. And I also put on 2 job fairs and a nonprofit job club in Austin, Texas. So you could kind of say that I'm an expert in how to get a job. So I wrote a book called Get the Job, Your Fundraising Career Empowerment Guide. And I also help people with their resumes and cover letters either break into the field of fundraising or help people move on up in their careers, whether in or out of the sector. So in the last 10 years, I've been able to help people do all sorts of things from getting government jobs, to nonprofit jobs, to corporate jobs. And it's just one of my favorite things to do to help you feel empowered in your career. So without further ado, today's topic, cover letters. And this one technique that helped me get an interview 3,000 miles away with no connections. If you want to see how it's done, we're going to do it right now. So let's go. I'm going to show you this cover letter. But before I do that, I just want to say, before I did this, I never knew it was going to work, but it really, really works. And the secret is telling a story about your connection to the cause. This is just one example. Now, this is for National Public Radio, and I didn't have any connection with National Public Radio. I had not worked in radio, and I did not live in DC. And yeah, so how do you make up a connection to something? This is how. So what I did was I wrote a story about an article I read in Adbusters. Here's what it says. To whom it may concern. When I read a copy of Adbusters this month, it had an interesting article about the future of the press. Bill Moyer spoke with eloquency about the end of the Times Select service because no one was willing to pay for it, and the increased co-opting of even trusted media outlets such as the Wall Street Journal to corporate interests. The fact that 25% of people under 30 do not get their news from TV is a huge indicator of the future of the press. I don't even own a TV or get the paper, relying on radio and online news to tell me what is really going on in the world. Moyers predicted that as information becomes more free, reliable, relevant, news will increasingly be produced by nonprofit entities. I immediately thought of National Public Radio. What better example could there be of journalistic integrity? After being involved in publishing in a small way in 2008, I decided that I wanted to be part of the future of news and apply for an open position of development associate position, number, etc., etc. So when I showed the beginning of this cover letter to a girl who was trying to get a job here in Portland, she was in my nonprofit job club here, and she took one look at it, applied, and the next week she left my club, and I said, hey, how's it going? Sorry if I didn't live up to your expectations. She's like, no, it's great. I just got a job in Colorado. I'm all set. Thanks for that incredible cover letter. Her eyes just got so huge, and she just did not know you could do this. So after I write that piece, whether it's something that struck you in an article that somebody wrote, or maybe it's a story from your actual family or your personal experience, then I write things like, thanks to your website listing, I'm familiar with the duties and feel like I execute them with excellence. If you'd like to know exactly how I fit within your major qualifications, I've outlined my skills and experiences below, so on and so forth. So another way that I've done this, and way that has gotten me an interview, was I applied for a development director job at a college of acupuncture. And so in my cover letter, I talked about how my cousin's life had been saved by acupuncture because she had been abused as a child, and she was living in the Philippines, and my aunt adopted her from there, but she was going to die. And even though she got back and like the infection that she had cleared up, she was still, I remember holding her, just very stiff and wouldn't like curl against you like a regular baby would. And she cried all the time, and she wouldn't eat and she wouldn't sleep. And my aunt and uncle were at their wits' end. And so then they started having her have acupuncture treatments. And for 2 months she had treatments. And then suddenly she was sleeping through the night and eating and smiling and curling in down on you like a baby does. And so that was when I knew that acupuncture really has the power to heal beyond words. And so when I wrote that story in the beginning of my cover letter to this acupuncture school, they immediately called me in for an interview for development director. So, and that was before I'd ever been a development director, though I have been one now. So the point is that if you can tell a compelling story in the first paragraph of your cover letter, you can just basically get the interview. Because people are going to want to work with people that they like, people who are interesting, and people that actually have a connection to the cause. You can't do this with every job. but you're not supposed to. So in the next video, I'll talk to you about how to make a regular cover letter without that story that will still be compelling enough for you to get that interview. You don't have to do this way, but in my experience, this is the most effective way to get an interview without any connections. Stay tuned.